Good afternoon, everyone. It's Shamila Ramjawan coming to you from the Red Corner Chat. This afternoon, I speak to Dr. Mariam Seedat Khan, who is a wife, a mom, an academic, an author, and a certified clinical sociologist, as well as a cancer survivor. Good afternoon, Dr. Mariam Seedat Khan.
Good afternoon, Shamila. Thank you for having me on.
It's only a pleasure, and I'm so excited about this chat, and I really want to get to know more about you, the person that you are. I've been following your journey on Facebook, and I really want to meet you someday as well. So maybe tell us a little bit about you as a person.
Okay, so I'm an academic at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, and my area of speciality is clinical sociology, and my focus is on teaching and learning. I work with neurotypicals as well as differently abled learners, and I'm a strong advocate for looking at solutions for differently abled learners. I find that there is not enough that is being done in our country for children on the spectrum, as well as adults, people with Down syndrome, people with cerebral palsy, people with learning challenges. So that is that's what motivates me and drives me in terms of delivering quality education to students at all age groups.
That is very interesting, because I'm actually in the middle of my PhD, and I'm also working with differently abled adolescents. And my study is based around menstruation, which is very, very interesting as well. So Dr. Seedat Khan, take me through the impact that, the buzzword these days is COVID-19. Take me through the impact of COVID-19 on academics.
So COVID-19 has changed the way that we as academics operate, and it also changes the way that students operate. So what was once a classroom with human interaction is now a room very much like the one you and I are sitting in, a Zoom, a virtual room. And I've just come off a 2-day wellness symposium hosted by the International Sociological Association, where I presented a paper with some of my colleagues. And wellness is one of the key issues that we're dealing with among students as well as academics, because the kind of lifestyle we're currently engaged in at the moment is not normal. I know everyone's using the phrase the new normal, but this is far from what a new normal should be like. It impedes us physically, emotionally. We are unable to have contact with our loved ones. If we are abiding by all the rules, younger children are unable to see their friends. I see my mom virtually on Zoom. I haven't seen her since the lockdown. And these are all kind of difficult challenges that we face in terms of the emotional impact that it has on every single one of us. Whether it's a religious holiday, a birthday, or an anniversary or something special, we've had to engage in a paradigm shift to kind of accept this new way of living, and it's presenting huge challenges. I just want to tell you a little story. Coming out of the symposium, we put together a video from a group of students from all over the world, from Africa, from Asia, from the US, from Canada, from all BRICS countries as well. And the biggest challenge that our learners were dealing with is the fact that, particularly our young women, they are having to fight for time, to to give time to their studies. I mean, they're assigned a series of domestic responsibilities which have to be completed ahead of their attention to academic work.
That is very interesting. So how does one manage that? You know, I'm in a predicament as well. It's just motivating myself to get down and start writing and putting my thesis together. What is your advice to students out there? Anybody listening and will listen to this, what advice would you give them?
So I was very fortunate. I had some great academic supervisors when I was doing my PhD at the University of Natal. And, you know, people like Professor Ari Sitas and Professor Steers, and really had a great impact. And I will never forget, and it's advice that I give to all my PhD candidates as well. The advice is that every day, Monday to Friday, spend a minimum of 3 hours reading, working on your PhD. If you do that and take the weekends off so your brain can recover, it's likely that you will finish your PhD in a 2.5-year period. The challenge at this stage is the limitations that COVID-19 is placing on possibly your study as well. I have a few students engaging on their PhD and they're looking in the field of medical sociology. And obviously they cannot do any of their field work at this stage because of the safety protocol around access to hospitals and patients during COVID-19. So it's impacted on us severely. The other thing is the access to the digital divide. The digital divide is our biggest challenge. And we assume that our digital divide is just a challenge in South Africa or in developing countries, but it's a challenge all over the world.
Yes, I can relate to that. Yes, I'm also stuck at the moment. I cannot do my field work. And also my face-to-face interviews will most probably be done on other means like Zoom, for example, MS Teams. So that is another challenge on its own. But in terms of self-care, mindfulness, what advice would you give one out there?
So I'm a big fan of mindfulness. I do that every day. I try to encourage my husband and the boys to do that as well. I'm not sure if they do, but I think it's very important for us to take care of our mental health. Exercise is also very important. I've recently got into yoga. Something that I've never tried before, and I'm quite enjoying it. I'm also a firm believer of breathing techniques. These are a combination of these, help us optimize our mind, help us get the best from our mind. But my advice, and I'm starting to learn how to take my own advice, is that weekends are here for a reason. And because a lot of us are working from home, there seems to be no separation between work and home. We find that it flows into each other, and you're sometimes sitting on a Sunday and working. And my advice is for us all, and particularly women, because of the long hours that we are responsible for. I mean, every single woman will tell you their days have turned into 18 and 20-hour days. So if we don't take care of our physical health and our emotional health, then we're in trouble. Shamila, I've just finished writing a book, and I spent hours and hours and hours sitting at my desk in front of my laptop. And as a result, I am in pain because of pseudo-sciatica, and that's an occupational hazard. So, but that's forced me to kind of change the way that I do things. in terms of making time for exercise and making time for meditation. So those are real important areas that we have to focus on.
I can understand, because when I was doing my MBA, I can remember the one night, it was a Friday night, I sat on my chair, it was 7 o'clock in the evening, and the next minute I realized that, gee whiz, I've been sitting here for hours, it's now 2 a.m., and it was freezing cold in Johannesburg. I was like a frozen pea in a pod. So I know exactly what you say. And unfortunately with the doctorate, I think, I'm still getting there, getting my head around being more motivated to actually sit down and write. So I'm doing what I'm really passionate about, and I'm creating these chats and these platforms. So Dr. Seedat Khan, back to your platforms. You've created a Facebook platform called SMART. So it's the Simply Managing Academic Related Tasks. Do you want to maybe take me through that? Because I found that to be so interesting and relevant at this time.
Okay, so it's not new. It actually started in 2007, and it was a closed group before. And when the state of disaster was announced in March of this year by our president, my concern was I started seeing a lot of adverts and emails and kind of people that were offering solutions to this lockdown for parents with schooling and resources. And the cost at which these things were offered really concerned me. And I thought, we were having dinner one night, my boys, Alan and I, and, I was saying, there are parents out there that are paying school fees, and now there are others that want to now charge them further for material that is readily available. So I opened up the platform and I engaged with a couple of teachers on the resource portal, like Jacqueline Nike, Riddell Govender, Judy Jagwal. So a lot of I just reached out to these teachers and I said, because I'm not a teacher, I'm a teaching and learning specialist. I can tell you about learning disabilities, challenges, and I can fix those, but I'm not a teacher. So it was so amazing how these women and men as well came on board. And then we started having people from the Philippines, people from the United States, from Canada, from the UK, all over the world started contacting me, Dubai, and saying, hi, I'm so-and-so, I'd like to offer you these free resources to upload on your group. And, every day there are hundreds of free resources. The work that we were doing as a team, because it's not me alone in terms of the resources, it's each of the specialists that are contributing. So we had Sue Sanker contact us, and they were so fascinated by this effort, or they were so impressed by this effort. And they have a niece who loves our story time, which is released every day at 4 o'clock. And they offered to kind of, host it on their zero-rated website and upload it onto my SMART webpage, and where it's systematically organized according to grade. Then we started seeing our major publishers offering their resources free of charge. And this is amazing. So everyone from Amazon to, to Audible, to every single resource center online was offering free stuff. You could watch Phantom of the Opera, you could, you have a virtual tour. On our site, kids get to have a virtual experience every day, whether it's with NASA or a farming experience. So it's my way of helping parents educate their children at home and provide support for them without it costing them possibly only the Wi-Fi, the use of the data. So that is the reason or the impetus behind this kind of thing. Shamila, we started a new little feature on the page, which is about a week old. I had an email from one of the parents that subscribed to the group, and she said, "Oh, my son has won a poetry competition. Would you be able to feature my son on your website, on your page?" So I thought, well, why not? Let's celebrate the achievements of these young children, because they're not in formal schooling at the moment. They don't get recognition. And what a great way to motivate kids. So I've had an influx of emails and messages from parents showcasing the work of their kids, which is really nice, because a lot of people are new at this. And I think generally the parents are doing, and as well as students, they're doing a fabulous job of homeschooling and going through the process. So it's really amazing how resourceful people have become.
That is wonderful, and it's such a great initiative as well, and I'm sure it's going to entice a lot of parents out there to now just go that extra mile and put in that extra time with your kids, because I see you have a spectrum of, or a variety of programs. What sort of age groups do you look at?
So from 3 years old all the way to adults. So it's on a needs basis, and as a researcher you would know how that works. So if you get an increasing amount of requests, and I had a lot of emails from women saying, I'm at home and how do I upskill myself at this time? How do I develop new skills? Is there a way that you can help me? I have funding limitations. So then we started seeing your Harvard, your Stanford, your Oxford, your World Health Organization. They began opening up these free programs that are still available. And on the group, it's called free resources. So you can go on and decide anything from a 6-month program to a 40-hour program in anything really that interests you, even if it's learning a new language. And I think it's so amazing that people are not just sitting back. People are really kind of driven, taking the initiative to generate new skills or to upskill themselves, because we're not exactly sure what post-COVID is going to look like.
I totally agree with you. I get very irritated when I go onto social media and I see people saying they're bored, because I don't think at a time like this anybody can be bored. There's so many things that you can latch onto. Just grab the opportunities, and like you said, there's free platforms. They can just upskill themselves, and that's something that we need to really spread the word about. A real humanitarian at heart. You've acquired so many awards. Do you want to maybe take me through that? What stands out for you? How do you feel about the recognition?
So, I have to say that I have a kind of belief we are because of each other. And I think we have to, as women, we have to learn a key principle. If we, if we help women to improve their level of education, their situation, when we work together, we are more successful. Nobody ever achieves anything in isolation. And I think my most significant lesson is kindness. I've seen people respond, whether it's to a paper or a study. As a reviewer, you can really give harsh comments, but you can also give constructive comments that changes the person's life. So a simple thing like, this is an awful thesis, this whole thing should be rewritten. You can rephrase it and say, you know, as the researcher, I think you failed to capitalize on this particular area. Maybe you should add more information here. It will make it an outstanding study. So I think as a clinical sociologist, my learning lesson is how we relate to people. Kindness is so important. Kindness is so important, and it doesn't take too much to be kind. In terms of awards, you know, these awards, and I appreciate it, and I'm grateful to have received them. But these awards are only made possible because of the women that came before me, because of the women that I work with, because of the women that have created opportunities for me, and for the women that I create opportunities for. So I think while awards and recognition is great, we can't let it go to our head, because life can change at a moment's notice. And I always kind of remember that. We have a standing joke in our house with my boys and Alan. So if something good happens, let's say my son got an A on his economics test, and like everybody else will respond like, oh, you're showing off again. And it's not about not recognizing, but it's about reinforcing this notion that while one of them might have got 80% on an ecos test, there's another kid out there that got 100%. So it keeps us motivated and it keeps us working. So, and if we do things because sincerely, right? Just because we want to do it, not because we're expecting anything in return, it really feels great. It really feels great. So yeah, I mean, that would be my advice.
Definitely. I think, you know, like you said, it shouldn't go to our heads, but it actually encourages us to do more and to just make an impact and make a difference. And I think the key word there is support. And this goes on to my next burning desire to actually get to know your journey that you went through recently with your selfless husband that supported you and your two boys. You know, Alan Khan interviewed me a few years ago, and now I interview his wife. It's so amazing, you know. So, Dr. Mariam Seedat Khan, I am so interested in hearing about how you survived cancer. So, do you want to maybe take me through that journey?
Okay, so I am very meticulous about my health. So, you know, in terms of, and my boys, we go regularly for cleans, physicals, eye tests, the whole hog. So my mammogram happens every year, first week in May. I know the lovely people at the Hopelands Mammo Center on a first name basis. And, you know, so I go in and I have my mammo, and they ask me to wait, which is not unusual. Generally, they want to do an ultrasound. And then they say to me, well, we need you to come back a week later. We've seen something. It's a bit irregular. It doesn't look too concerning, but, you know, we'd like to do a biopsy. I was not fazed by this at all. And, you know, I came home and I said to Alan, so he's like, okay, don't stress about that. I'd been to my gynecologist before the biopsy, and she palpated and we couldn't find anything. So I had no lump. There was nothing, no lump, no pain, absolutely nothing. So Alan, and yes, he was amazing, really great, supportive. You know, he insisted on coming with me for the biopsy, took time off work, and it's a painful process. You know, they literally stick a needle that big into your breast to take out the tissue, and then they send that out for testing. So I wasn't even fazed by I wasn't even fazed by that either. And we got home, and this was a Friday, and then on the Tuesday morning, I was just about to get into an online meeting, and I received a call from my gynecologist, who's also a good friend. And it was quite odd because it came from her receptionist. And the receptionist says, we need you to come in, and we have some results for you. So I was like, I thought, oh, she's going to say to me something like, you have to have something, I don't know, with your uterus. That's what I was thinking. I didn't think anything else. Alan had also received a call from her to meet me there. And so I called Alan. Of course, he said to me, I should wait at home. He's coming to fetch me. I didn't. I drove straight to the hospital. And we got there, and I had my laptop in hand. I still remember I was in she has a waiting room on the side of her main office, and Alan and I were waiting in there. And I remember populating the matric timetable for my son, who was in matric when this happened, right? And so we go in, and she gives us she tells us, that it's DCIS, ductal carcinoma in situ, which is, they call it precancer. So it's in situ means in the site that it originally started. And she says, oh, it's nothing to worry about. And of course, people always say, oh, this is, if you want to get cancer, this is the kind you want to get. I don't think anybody wants to get cancer. And and I said, well, what do we do? She says, let's wait and watch. I said, no, we're not waiting and watching. We're going in and we're taking this out now. And she says, well, the doctor that I need you to see, he's really busy, and you're not going to get an appointment for a couple of weeks. I said, no, I'm going to see him this afternoon. And I said, well, who's the doctor? And she gave me a name. And how serendipitous was this? I know the doctor because his son is in and out of my house all the time, very good friend of my son's. So Alan and I picked up the phone, and he was absolutely happy to see us the same afternoon. We got into his rooms, he did the examination, he looked at my results, and I said to him, well, I'm going into theater tomorrow, and this is the anesthetist I'd like. And he's like, I can't, my slate is full. And it's going to sound like it's, comes out of a movie script, but his office manager walks in while Alan and I are sitting there and saying, Mr. So-and-so's surgery has to be cancelled. I can't remember whether his blood sugars were too high or something. So I said, there you go. Something's opened up for me on your slate. See you tomorrow.
Wow.
And that's how it happened. So we went in, they removed the tumor, and that was on a Wednesday. And then the results came back that it was invasive breast cancer. So I had to go back in again on a Monday morning to have a sentinel node biopsy. So a sentinel node biopsy is where they make a small incision under your arm and they test the nodes to see if the cancer has spread to the rest of your body. I was thrilled. I was very fortunate. It had not spread. So I had to now decide on a treatment plan. I looked at 3 different oncologists. I eventually settled on Dr. Riaz Mal, amazing oncologist, amazing practice. You know, everyone from their nurses to their reception, they're just amazing. And I went to see him, and he mapped out a treatment plan for me. And I had 6 weeks of radiation, and thereafter I'm now on a hormone suppressant, which is a tablet that I'm going to have to take every day for 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, it has loads of side effects.
Yes. Okay. Do you want to maybe tell us some of the side effects?
Yeah. So it has loads of side effects. And I mean, one of them is muscle pain and bone pain. And it's really a lot of women go onto the medication and ultimately abandon it after a short period of time because of the side effects. And what I decided to do was I decided that I wasn't going to have any side effects, and it's a hard thing to decide because it doesn't work like that. And I began reading every scientific journal I could on tamoxifen and the side effects and the studies. And then I began looking at solutions to respond to those side effects. So one of the things is bone and muscular pain and things like that. So the solution to that is 10,000 steps a day. So I do that every day without fail, Monday to Sunday. Secondly, it causes a lot of weight gain. But that one didn't concern me too much because I would rather have a little extra weight and be alive than have the cancer come back again. So it's a tough journey, but Shamila, what I want to talk about is why I went public.
Yes, please go ahead.
I had received, I had known lots of people that were diagnosed with breast cancer, friends, family, other people that just called on me for advice. And the thing that struck me about them so often is, please don't tell anyone, it's a secret. And I mean, that really kind of upset me. And I thought, but why wouldn't you want anyone to know? And so, Alan was trying to distract me when we were waiting to see our surgeon, and we started talking about it. And I said, okay, let's kind of share this experience with people. And I cannot tell you the number of women that have been for mammograms that don't normally go for mammograms. So if it's had an impact, I'm grateful for that.
Yes, I think, just telling your story is going to help so many people out there. Like you said, a number of people went out and they had the test because, we get so complacent and we get so comfortable that we feel, it's not necessary, and then we ignore it. And then you see something like this, a prominent person who you would never expect to end up with cancer, goes and gets tested, and there you have it. So I think it's very important to spread that message out there to women. Just on your emotions, were you very emotional? I just want to get a feel of that because, I mean, we have, me, for example, I have to go to the hospital for a blood test. And if there's something that they suspect is wrong with me, I get very emotional about it. I get tense, overwhelmed. What sort of emotions did you have when you heard that this is the case?
So, Shamila, this is the honest truth, right? So when I was diagnosed and the day before my surgery, I was okay. I mean, when I got home, my mom was here. My brother had driven from Johannesburg to be here with me the next morning. So I have great friends and a great support system. So I decided I was going to treat this very clinically. So I didn't have any tears or anything, but I did get up It was must be about 2 a.m. in the morning, and I like gasping for air. And I said to Alan, "Oh my God, I could die." And he said, "Well, so could I. I could get hit by a bus." And anyway, we chatted and went back to bed because we were going into the theater the next morning. But I was so brave. I mean, my son was in matric. I wasn't going to make 2017 about breast cancer and me. It was his time to shine. And it was, I was going to, I got up and I showed up every single day. Got up, got dressed, even if I didn't feel like it. I had to. I didn't want him worrying for a second and taking everything away that he needed in his matric year. So I was really brave. I was very brave, if I say so myself. I began reading 116 journal articles on breast cancer, is what I read from the day I was diagnosed over a 4-month period. Okay, so my treatment was over in August. I went back to work in September, and I was in a meeting with a professor, and I could feel something strange happening to me. I felt like a little lightheaded, and this particular professor from the university ran out of my office, grabbed a chocolate and a juice because he's diabetic, and he was, quite panicked, said to me, "You got to eat this, you got to eat this." So I had the box of juice and the chocolate, and he says, "Are you diabetic?" "No, I'm not diabetic." But I think obviously I was just, I don't know, something happened. Anyway, the meeting was successful, and there were no health issues there. But that same afternoon, I got into the car and I was listening to SAFM, and there was a woman that they were interviewing about breast cancer. And there's something, I cannot even recall exactly at which point of the interview something happened, but I was in the car, I was leaving campus, and the floodgates opened. I think I just began crying. I think it was just kind of a build-up of everything. And I had a really, really good cry. Of course, I got home and the boys and Alan were like, "What's wrong?" And it was very difficult for me not to tell them because they could see I'd been crying. But it's important to deal with it. And I'm also very lucky. I have such amazing friends, and I talk to them about it. My mom's awesome. And I've just kind of did everything. I followed all the rules. I took care of my mental health. I did everything I was supposed to. But having said that, it's not a journey you would want for anyone.
Yes, for sure. Definitely not a journey for anyone. You've been through it. You've survived it. You're taking care of yourself. You are such an inspiration. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Seedat Khan. Just going forward, how did it impact your kids? What impact did it have on your kids?
So we have open communication at home. We're always talking about things. And my boys often say, Mom, do you really think that everybody's mom have to know, have to have these conversations all the time? I mean, conversation about gender-based violence, these are conversations I've been having with my boys for as long as I remember. So how did it impact on them? I think they were worried and they were very concerned, but I was honest with them from day one. I showed them the statistics. Obviously, they began reading up on it. And the stage and the level of cancer I had has a 100% 5-year survival rate. Having said that, there is no guarantee that it will not return. So they empowered themselves with knowledge. They began reading about it. Finding out as much as they can, and they were amazing. They were very, very supportive. So I think they're more sensitive. They're sensitive to this, and but I think they're also great advocates now for breast cancer and breast cancer survivors. So, that's great.
That's wonderful. So you have that great support structure, your wonderful husband and your 2 boys and your friends and family that surround you. Dr. Seedat Khan, what is your power message to women out there, being Women's Month in South Africa?
I think help each other, be kind to each other, because collaboration is the key to success. If you collaborate with women, any number of women, you're bringing together a skill set that is unique to each woman. And that helps us succeed in whatever we do.
That is such a great message, and we're going to leave it at there. Thank you so much for coming on to chat in the Red Corner, and I look forward to being in touch with you. Take care, and God bless you.
Thank you, Shamila. Thank you for having me on. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you, and you too. All the best.